Good evening. It is an honor to have you honor us tonight by attending our first major event in the Walker School of Business new home, East Academic Building. We are indeed honored to have you here with us. More importantly, let me say that our MS in Forensic Accounting program is beginning to really develop a reputation as the predominant program in this particular aspect of accounting in this region. It is a program that is focused on preparing working adults who are working daily but yet have the strength and the capacity to be able to pursue an education on a part-time basis. And we've designed a program that we think will effectively enable them to be able to do those things and to do it well. And so for those of you that do not know about our program, we hope that this is an opportunity where we'll give you all a chance to get to know us even more so. One of the very interesting distinctives about Webster University is that it's an institution that's been around since 1915, founded by Loretta nuns with the main purpose of trying to prepare women for higher education way back in the day. And then we took that mission as we moved on in the years and expanded it to not just include women, but we made this institution a co-educational institution. And then a few years later, we decided to take our mission even to the next level, and that is to encourage students to come to Webster, not just St. Louis. And so as you saw in the video presentation, our entry into the market where we established campuses in Geneva, where we celebrated 35 years in Geneva about 2 years ago, and then Vienna, and then Leiden, and then London, and then Thailand, and then China. We have become a global university in which we're taking our mission to those that want that very important thing, which is knowledge. So tonight, we welcome to Webster University and to the Walker School of Business one of the most distinguished, one of the most highly reputable gentlemen in the area of forensic accounting. It is my honor to introduce to you Dr. Gursel, who is an anti-fraud specialist, something he's been doing since 1967. He has served as Senior Internal Auditor with the United Nations, the World Health Organization, Internal Insight Service Department in Geneva since 1980. Dr. Gursel is a diplomat of the United Nations, and in his role as diplomat, this has taken him to a number of UN member countries to conduct investigations and evaluations and audit tasks. And some of the countries that he's visited are countries that normally you and I couldn't get in. And if we did get in, we couldn't get out. And if you think about it, you think of such places as Cuba, North Korea, where the outcome of his report was the opening of the World Health Organization's country office, first time in this particular countries. Dr. Gursel has published 6 books on financial and accounting issues, nearly 100 articles and contributions on numerous publications. In addition, and perhaps this is the area where we're very excited. Can you all hear me that back there now? Okay, just a minute. Well, it's on. Now it's working. Okay. I apologize for that. Pat Macedonsky, Associate Dean, was doing stuff, and I said, okay, just use a mic, Benjamin. Thanks, Pat. In addition, he's an adjunct professor at Webster University, Geneva, which I remember the first time I met Al, he was extremely impressive, and he shared with me what he does during the daytime, and the remarkable stories that he has, and I hope that he will get a chance to share some of that with us tonight, and you too will find it very, very intriguing. A pioneer in the true meaning in the area of forensic accounting. In 2009, he won the Most Valuable Player Award by Governance, Risk, and Compliance Institute, whose honorary chairperson are two very common names to all of us, especially those in the field of accounting, Paul Sarbanes and Michael Oxley, who are the primary sponsors of the most sweeping regulatory reform that we've seen in this country in a very long time. This award recognizes the most exemplary leadership achievement in governance, risk management, and compliance. In 2005, he completed work with the United Nations as advisor for the UN Fraud Prevention and Anti-Corruption Framework, where he drafted the United Nations Fraud Prevention Policy and the terms of reference of the United Nations Independent Audit Oversight Advisory Committee. Currently, he has been asked to launch the Accountability Enhancement Review in Southeast Asia region for the World Health Organization. You know, one of the important distinctions of Webster University is our belief in using faculty that are in the game, that are making difference at work, but yet bringing those ideas to our classrooms on a nightly basis. And so in fact, what we want to ensure is that our students get the kind of education on Monday that they can take to work on Tuesday. It is because of that commitment that we've had the distinct pleasure of having Hal as a professor for so many years. And so I am honored, and I ask you to join me in welcoming to Webster University, Hal Gursel.
Thank you, really, thank you. I will believe it.
Go get him.
I will believe it. So the risk is that I will believe it, what is it? How do we open that one? Having seen the others. Is it? Right. Okay, you learn everything about me. You hear me first thing. I guess you hear. I got some call this morning here, so I don't know whether I can speak without mic. My name is Haluk Gursel, as he says, then call me Hal. And there is a meaning of this Hal. Hal is the supercomputer's name in the movie of Stanley Kubrick, 1974, Space Odyssey 2001. I was a student at that time, and they put me this nickname, which coincides my name as well. And by the way, HAL is the future of IBM, and we were thinking whether 2001 will come ever at that time. And the future of IBM should be a better model for IHBAML, so better model, HAL, so they call it HAL. So this is my nickname comes from. Having said that, this has nothing to do with the fraud. It's not a fraud. Tonight, I wanted to have this one as a luncheon, but we couldn't do it for many reasons. And as it is a night presentation, evening presentation, I took 60 minutes, a rough ride. With the PowerPoints, it'll be a little bit fast. Don't write in the evaluation that it was too fast for me. I know that. But I give something in exchange. The ones who are asking me at my email address, they will get full presentation. Plus, there was something that the Pricewaterhouse Economic Crime 2011, it's been announced in Europe about 24th or 23rd, something like this, of December. So I made this presentation, but it takes another 15 minutes. So if you ask for it, I will give it to you, but I'm not going to go in here. Then there is one accountability and fraud prevention part that you won't get. But you ask, and then you'll get it. How's that? That's a deal. So you'll get very little. Now, who is this guy? Who is this guy? You see that?
Oh, liar.
Do you lie? Are you liars? All of you? Half of them? Look, I tell you what. They asked the question. They said that, tell us if you have lied at least once in your lifetime, conscientiously, knowingly, for your proper interest. Right? Knowingly, for your interest, not money, anything, any service, anything, for your interest. And then we scaled them down out of 100. What do you think the result was? What is the percentage of liars?
100%.
90.
100.
100.
100.
We are all liars. And when I said this in class, and one guy said, Professor, yeah, this study must be wrong. I never lied in my life. I said, my son, the study is correct and you're doing it right now. Boy. So, are we all fraudsters? Maybe, potentially. What is the difference between a liar and fraudster? Easy. The difference is level of tolerance. If someone exceeds in lies, whatever the color is, white, pink, green, I don't know, husbands, wives, you know, the color changes there, then if you are lying, deception, more than the society can tolerate, then you are a criminal. This is the level. What you have to have, it should be regulated in advance. You cannot commit a crime by just your boss is saying that it is a crime. Roman law, good old Roman law in the 4th century, was saying that nobody can be punished for any act which was not recognized as crime at the time it was committed. So you cannot say afterwards that what you do is a crime and you are a fraudster. No. Today we do have in government's laws, you know, the state laws, and also in corporate bylaws. The limits, the tolerance limits are expressed there. A good example, I don't know how it is in America, but private phones. We give them a phone, cell phone, and then we say that if you have private calls, let us know. And somebody said, this is given to me and I can make any call. What do you mean that private call? This is given to me. And where it says that private calls are criminal. Because if you don't give us the money, you are stealing the money at the end, right? It becomes fraud. So we had to, in the UN, we had to write in the telecommunication manual that if you don't pay your private phone calls, it's fraud. So now tonight we'll talk about a little bit corporate executive. You will see that you will not see what he thinks until the end, but surrounding environment, what is happening, he has to be aware of those things. Sometimes they are victims, sometimes they are the ones. When they are victims, because below them the people can be fraud and they may not know. And sometimes they do it and the others don't know. So it is a dilemma. Oh, this is, I took it and I thought that it's a, you know, something that is drawn, but Rich showed me that it is not. It's a real thing, you know, the arch. I didn't know, I'm sorry. So here it comes. Now tonight we'll talk about, oh, no, that's not correct. I think this is the one. I'll talk about the little bit of fraud concepts. I'll give you very little. Then I'll talk about the surveys. We're talking about the fraud in terms of triangle. I don't know why they call it triangle, probably because we do have 3 legs. One is the opportunity, the other one is pressure, incentive, and the other one is rationalization. And the angles are equal here, all of them 60 degrees, but recently we start discussing whether this should be 60 degrees or some angles are wider. In other words, if you have an opportunity, a larger opportunity, for example, is it provoking a pressure or any appetite, any risk appetite? Or if the pressure or incentive, wife says, I want fur coat because Missouri is too cold. Yeah, I don't know. So it's a pressure on the guy, something like this. What is the angle of this? Is this pressure makes fraudsters? Then they seek the opportunities? We don't know this yet. But what we know is that we do qualify fraud with the opportunity, pressure, and then rationalization. That means that the guy says, content himself somehow, says, okay, I'm just borrowing, and then I will give it away later on. I have never seen, by the way, anyone who is giving up, just giving back. Also, I haven't seen any fraud starting small, normally, goes big. I haven't seen any still big getting smaller. That doesn't exist. So it starts small and gets bigger. Sometimes you get test frauds. What is the test fraud? You don't know because I made it up. Yes. Test fraud is the guy forwards $10 mistake and then waits 2 more months, whether it will come up in the reconciliation or not, or 3 months, whatever it takes. And if he's sure, he makes another one, another $10 goes. It's a fraud. So there is no one. So I can do it for 100. I can do it for 1,000. That is the test fraud. And there are, believe me, there are frauds. These guys, these fraudsters have the same learning system like you and me. By seeing, some of us by hearing, some of us together. It's a combination of that, like I do here. I'm just moving, and then body language, everything. So they do learn like us. And then the results are different, though. The application of what they learned is different. That makes them different. So rationalization is like this. Now, here is the bad news. There might be some frauds which have never been discovered. And the first to be blamed are the auditors. Oh my God. I'm an auditor anyway. Don't take so bad. What an auditor does, these days, you make a risk assessment and you go more or less periodically to a place. When you go, let's say, depending on your resources, let's say when you go for every 5 years, every office, or every other year, every office, whatever it is, what you do, you go first thing, your current account, current year account, right? And then if it is biennial accounting, you go to the first biennium. And at best, you go to previous biennium. That makes 4 years. Less than 4 years, because biennium shouldn't be ended, right? So that it's 3 years, 364 days, up to. Now imagine that your resources are less and you cannot go everywhere 100%. What happens? One biennium jumps out, or 2, whatever. What happens? There, if there is a fraud, it's gone. So that know that there are frauds which are never discovered. That's a bad news, I guess. So this is the definition of fraud. It means it's a deceit, it's a violation of trust and concealment. The rest is, lots of other things. We have to go. Now, the cost of fraud, for those who are not familiar with, I thought that there might be some people that are not speaking our language. So here is General Motors. This is a real case. $436 million fraud. And let's say that it's rounded. They are earning 10%. So that you need $4 billion new revenue to earn 10% to make up this money. 20,000 per car, maybe it's a good approximation. It means that for this fraud, you have to sell an additional 218,000 cars. So this is the financial cost. There are other costs, of course. We'll talk a little bit if we have time. Now, another example from a bank, $100 million fraud. Let's say the 10% again, 1 billion new revenues at $100 per year checking account. You need a 10 million new accounts. It's impossible. So that it is for sure that at the end of fraud, you'll get something. You'll get a loss. Here's the guy after the fraudsters. You know him? All right. Now, I'd like to give you fraud-related couple surveys just to give you an idea that how the fraud is perceived by people. Before I do that one, I'd like to tell you that every survey has some shortcomings in it, which is filtering. When we tell something, we filter it, always. We don't tell what is the reality. Even we won't. We would like to say, we couldn't. There are always differences. Was he wearing pink? Yeah, I would say more red. So you don't want to involve. You would like to help as long as it is not at your expense, right? So always being right. Being wrong is unacceptable for everyone. So that you would like to say something that why the others are wrong. I'll tell you one thing after this next one. Polarized thinking. We tend to say that either this or that. The people who are talking in the middle, they are so much talking in the middle that there is no understanding. They don't want to make any distinction. So they say this one is this one. In the surveys, especially, these are very dominant cases, distortions. And the blaming. When I come, are you thinking that Madoff was guilty? Look at the question. Yes. The answer. That's good. And then, as yet, some others are saying that this guy maybe, yeah, was guilty, but he didn't get any money. The ones who had got the money from him, knowingly, it is over and about the market rate, are guilty. That's the new view. Why not? And then tipping bias. This tipping bias means that you are talking to the guy, you are asking something that whether he has heard, whether he has seen, but you're not examining, like a judge, actual papers, so that the survey always has something to be desired in that. And Long said that, I will come to that one, Long said that the auditors, even some investigators, are telling you what they would like to tell you, especially the auditors. Auditors are looking for evidences or examples to prove them they are doing their job. In other words, they are not going beyond. They say that, look, this check was not written to the company, but to the person. Because that company, such a small company that didn't have any bank account maybe. So, long time, also the investigators, you would like to blame someone. You don't like the face of the guy. So just you would like to say that this guy is guilty. I'm sure that he is guilty. So that's why in the investigation theory, those who have seen investigation courses, they know that we have H0 hypothesis and H1 hypothesis. H0 is that Mr. Sidney is guilty, and H1 hypothesis, Mr. Sidney is not guilty. And you have to prove both of them. You have to say why someone else couldn't be other than this. Not only that this guy, even you have his statement saying that, yes, I did it. it is not valuable. We have to say that why, maybe he's protecting someone, his son. That happened to me. The guy was trying to cover up his son. So he says, I did it. I say, no. I have to be able to say that no one else could have done. We call this, this is a long story, but just short. We look for signatures. Signature means that only guilty person can know. We're looking at the things. For example, in one place, I got the paper that he signed, and I got the profile of the paper. I just made it 1,500 times larger. So I said, where did you get this paper? Oh, this is around the corner. So I get this guy, I got one ream of paper, I got the profile, and I said, this profile doesn't fit that one. So you didn't get this paper from there, that kind of things. So this is the signature. He knows where he gets. So he has to tell me. No, he said, okay, I took from here, Economa. So I got the Economa, and the cut blades, when they cut, over time in the factories, it's getting a little bit profiled because of they are cutting wood at the end. So that this profile, almost similar with the 100 reams of papers that we are receiving at once. So when you take it that one in 2 months' time, most probably you will get the same profile, so that you know where the paper comes from. So that kind of things. Now, talking of the surveys, how much, this survey shows how much the people aware of fraud. Here's the first one. It is 10, the highest one. 1.9 is the employee embezzles $10 from his employer. So it's 1.9, so we don't give any damn. A person makes an obscene phone call. This is the equal, just if you are stealing some money or you're making a phone call, the same importance. Person knowingly passes a bad check. Yeah, serious, but not that much. Knowingly. 6.1. A person cheats on his federal income tax return and avoids $10,000 in taxes. Still, it's not important, not pay the federal tax. 6.2. Employee embezzles $1,000. So you see, government's $10,000 becomes $10,000 of the private sector. You see. City official takes a bribe from a company for his help in getting a city building contract for the company. A person armed with a lead pipe robs a victim of $1,000, for $1,000. So this is serious, because if you hit someone to take $1,000 and taking bribe, it's the same. Public official takes $1,000 of public money for his own use. That's the same. So still they do not appreciate. Now we go over 10. Police officer takes a bribe not to interfere with an illegal gambling operation. That becomes more serious than $1,000 bribe. 13.5. Doctor cheats on claims he makes to federal health insurance plan to lose $10,000. So it's serious. Legislator takes a bribe from a company. There's no name, you see. Vote for law favoring the company. That's 13.9. People are saying that this is a big deal. Now, we go higher now. A country judge takes a bribe to give a light sentence in a criminal case. Person kills a victim recklessly driving a car. So it's very little difference. 43 now. What is important for the people? Forget about the fraud. A person plants a bomb in a public building. 72 plants a bomb in a public building, and this time 20 people are killed. So still, you see that the fraud is not seen as important issue yet, all over. Now, I like to talk about the Transparency International, the newest one. Of course, you know the name. Of course, you know the scheme. But let's see how it was this year, which came about November, end of November. New Zealand was the best country. This is 10. And then 9.5, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Singapore. These are the top ones. It's a perception index, meaning that what do you think of? It is a complex formula. They are asking the people, and then they are multiplying, dividing with the volume of transactions with the country and each country and how they feel. But this is a feeling, and of course some of them are experiencing bribe and all that. That's why it comes like this. Here is one. It's 7.1. I think number 24. It's not that bad because there are worse ones. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar, North Korea, Somalia. Here's the successful guy. All right, Madoff, where did you get the idea of paying early investors with money from the late investors? And the answer is, right. So you know this report. It is again this cognitive differences that we are saying 5% average. It was 7, it was 6, it was 5. Some of them are saying 3, and it depends on the country, it depends on the environment. But this is a figure that we are accepting for the time being, as we don't know more about that one. And this is close to Pricewaterhouse result as well. Applied to U.S. gross domestic product, it's $730 billion a year, approximately estimated. I give all the qualifications around it. $730 billion only in America lost in a year. If it is world product, it's $2.9 trillion. So this is to show you how important the fraud is. And median loss is 160,000. 1 quarter, 25%, more than 1 million. And a fraud takes 18 months to mature, to be discovered on the average. This is the reason that we would like to give more weight to prevention. Otherwise, it will be costly. 18 months, it will go all over. Here is the profile of fraudster in ACFE report to the nation. Age, 31 and 45. Pricewaterhouse gets this as 30 to 41. So it's about that. Generally speaking, is more, and also these guys are educated with a good place in the company. And then age of perpetrator, the amount is growing because they are learning more, they are taking more control of the assets. That's the reason. And also in the same organization, if they stay more, they are learning more, so they have more control. So the accounting department is the most to blame because it is happening there more. And the other departments, operations, sales, executive upper management, customer service, and purchase. So more of the guys, only 7% is less, so it's 90%, more than 90%, they have clean records. We do have theories for that, in our classes, that if there is no punishment, enough punishment, that increases because the learning is the same. You're learning from others. And you see that the media now, the world is so small, and then your environment, your family, if you see that there are frauds happening around you and not punished, then you learn about that. This is one of the reasons that we get new guys every time just committing fraud, because it is a risk calculation in fraudster's mind. Like you and me, we are just weighing the things. What is the possibility to get caught? And what is the possibility to get punished? And what would be this one? This is risk assessment. And if you look around and you see that the people are, especially the rule of law is not so strict in some countries, or arbitrary, or politically motivated. If you are a thief and then the president says, yeah, forget this guy, to judge it. So then what happens at the end? That increases the clean guys towards the fraud. It's a learning system. Then you see that he's not caught. I may not be caught either. Now, 2 things that you have to remember. Most common things that we see. Living beyond means. You have to watch for that. Experiencing financial difficulties. There, for example, the accountability comes in, soft controls. Every manager, team leader, has to be able to communicate with his staff to the extent that they are allowing him. You're not going to say that, is your wife wearing the rose gown again? No, you're not going to say that. You will say, maybe you would like to say something about wife or children, as much as allowed by the guy. But you have to say that. For example, if the guy comes to the office with a long face and you say, what happened? Oh, my son, 2-year-old, then you have to call the doctors or you have to propose at least. So the team leadership is this. There, you are preventing him, these two things happen because you know his private life as much as he allows, not you would like to attack. So this is one of the main stones of accountability, the leadership and the ethical behavior. But these two, surely you have to watch. And there are some peculiar guys, for example, unwillingness to share duties, close association with vendor customer, divorce, family problems. Still, I'm talking about accountability. For example, you can see this one and you can offer your help. Irritability, defensiveness, addiction problems, could be casino, game, or any drug, could be anything because they need money all the time. And refusal to take vacations. That's a funny one because we got one guy in Geneva, he was refusing and then he's been taken to the hospital and then next day somebody came. We've been looking for, they were looking in the office that where this file might be. They looked everywhere, they couldn't find the file. So there was only one place that it is locked and probably he locked it, because it's an important file. They opened it and what did they see? That there's a whole unit, just ghost employees, what we call ghost employees. There's no such a guy. And the guy was had another guy in a bank. The bank's name is UBS, familiar to Americans, I guess. But the guy, UBS, nothing to do with the case. The guy was there. So what happened? That the guy was paying through the payroll, and then they were sharing. So if someone is refusing to take vacation, saying that I am a devoted person, watch out. Could be real. And that's why the manual of World Health Organization says that everyone has the right to take vacation. And if you don't take half of your leave in a year as vacation, it will be forfeited. So that makes them to move a bit. Tone at the top. High-level perpetrators cause the greatest damage. It is middle level, compared to middle level, it's 3 times as costly, and compared to the employee, it's 9 times higher. Because as you go up, you get more control over the assets, so that you can fraud easier. Executive level is the highest one, of course. Now, executives are committing corruption, billing schemes, expense reimbursement, non-cash, that's the inventory, or services, private planes, not bad. Payroll, other schemes, check tampering, skimming, all these things. Here is the guy, here's the boss. He says, the staff have no understanding of enormous cost of wasted paper clips in this office. He's not wasting anything, of course, he's interested. See that? There are such bosses, I guess. Now, go back to 730 million and see what it means. It means that China, I picked up only the countries which might be interest to the US. China, 12.5% of GDP of China goes in 1 year to fraud in America. Canada, half of Canada's GDP is gone in America as fraud. Australia, 78. Netherlands, 93. I took Turkey because this is world's 17th largest economy, number 17. And all of GDP goes to fraud in America in a year. Switzerland, 1.4 times of Swiss GDP goes to fraud in America in 1 year. Sweden is the same. Iraq, 8 years of GDP. In 1 year, we just lose for fraud. Panama, that's a small one. 27 years they have to work to make up 1 year of America's fraud. Afghanistan, 62 times. Here's the figure. Haiti, 108 years of Haiti's income goes to fraud in 1 year in America. So this is the size of fraud. In Africa, the continent I love best, World Bank, Southern Africa, 40 billion to corruption. African Union, Africa, $140 billion annually. And this is 20% of whole African countries' combined income. It goes to corruption. African Development Bank says 50% tax revenue is lost to corruption, and then households are spending 2 to 3% of their income on bribes. You have to bribe to get it your way, you know? There's no way. Lost revenue greater than some of the countries' foreign debt. Remember this Mobutu Sese Seko? Zaire? When he died, his, well, I think Gaddafi is better, but the Mobutu Sese Seko, when he died, Swiss accounts only, I think he was depositing in Switzerland only, or just more or less all of them, maybe there are some other things, was equal to country's external debt. He was a 30-year lawyer when he took the power. And then until he died, you know. So it is larger than foreign debt of the country. That's why they are claiming, you know, aftermath. The amount twice the annual GDP of Kenya, Ghana, and Uganda combined. So you see the level of corruption. Here is a guy, I think, doing business with Africa, no? I just opened your tender, and I think we can do business. Now, recent surveys are showing that reputation damage to entities, it is more important than the brand name damage, is more important than the financials. Fraudulent financial reporting, again, all imposes here. Legal risk for executives, civil liability, civil pursuit, or criminal. Financial losses for investors, of course, you know that one. And the more important, crisis of confidence. Here are some examples I put, you know them all: misstating financial statements, executive loans, insider trading, IPO favoritism, they give him first, CEO retirement perks, you know all these guys, consulting contracts, use of corporate planes, executive apartments with meals, maids, etc. Here, 15,000 umbrella stand the guy has put. Not bad, you know, just it must be in a rainy state. I don't know. Where is he? Kozlowski. Tycho, is it in New York? Oh, no, there's no rain so much. Come on. Oh, snow umbrella. Yes. Okay. Makes sense. Now, here's how we examine this. Tone at the top is the first thing that you have to do. Education and training, unfortunately, it's not being given enough importance. Integrity, risk, and controls. That's what I'm talking, is the compliance part of it. Reporting and monitoring, proactive detection, investigation and follow-up. If we discover something, we must follow up. and we have to punish or whatever necessary. We have to liquidate the case, otherwise you will lose the discipline in the organization. I will talk about the post-Enron CEO. It's lonely at the top, and there was charismatic superstar CEO. That has ended recently because of the scandals. What happens if you have a charismatic leaders? That is what is happening. Reject limits to their scope and authority, which means they circumvent by laws and the laws even. And then they abuse the appetite of the people under their governance, and then irrational desires of their followers. So they do everything. Now we stop this one. How we stop this one? We stop this one with, after Enron, then the Sarbanes-Oxley, and personally vouching for the accuracy of the company's financial statements and public reports. Now, watch that. This is the legalized marijuana. They said 310 votes no. Securities litigation, 387 yes. Authorized force against Iraq, 373. You see the proportions? There are still people. Sarbanes-Oxley, 522 against no, 3. We've done it because we were in panic. And we know by now that that wasn't a good law. There are still more things can be done. I think they are preparing a amendment for that one. The post-Enron business environment heightened security by regulators, shareholders, general public, and they have to do the things which is compatible with the lessons learned after the scandals. I think those who are in finance and accounting, they will recognize it, just I'm giving the name. Section 906, Section 302, and 404, right? These are the reports vouching that, to best of my knowledge, the accounts sent to you, to government, and SEC, are correct. That's what it says. Now, watch that one. Here's the Sarbanes-Oxley says. Escape from prison, 1 to 2 years. Kidnapping, 2 to 3.5. Second-degree murder, 11 to 14. False Sarbanes-Oxley certification, 20 years. So you have a choice. Kill your boss, 14 years. Sign, 20 years. Which one you prefer? I don't know. This is real. All right. This is the brainstorming session that I'm talking of, 404, and has to create tone at the top. He is obligated to take the thing seriously, to create an accountability environment, because we know by now that if fraud wouldn't happen, it would be so much better compared to happened and liquidated. Tone at the top also has its shortcomings. Leaders are not always doing what they say. Of course, impact is internal than external, so we may not know, but internally might be good or bad. Ethical risks are being identified, but not measured at the moment. I have to pass this rather quick, I'm sorry. Responding to unethical behavior at some levels, but not complete yet. We're not there yet. Probably if we catch somebody for the investigation, we do investigation more thorough than any other ethical question. If you have an ethical question, that is not taken that serious. It is taken seriously, of course, to a certain extent. Adequate training on ethics are not provided. Business not gaining at the end the assurance over the systems and processes supporting ethical conduct. So we're not sure that the companies are behaving ethically. We don't have this assurance. We don't have the standards. We don't have the evidence of follow-up, thorough follow-up. Written standards for the ethics and then ethical training, because it's not enough to write the standards. You have to just train the people. Mechanism for getting advice in case of conflict, mental conflict, and the hesitations. Means to report anonymously, hotlines and all that. Discipline for misconduct, I told you that it should be exemplary. Otherwise, you will distort the discipline. Ethics, inclusion in performance rating, so that whether you took an ethic course or whether there was an ethical misbehavior in your past, we are just including in the yearly evaluation. In the UN, that was already ripe. I proposed that one, but I bought from someone to sell. I say that. It's not my invention, but it is being done now. So, do the just right thing, and then you will understand them. This is the only way. Now I'd like to take some questions if we have a couple minutes. Yes, please.
I'm interested in if there are any studies of the impact of fraud on the large multinational not-for-profits.
Non-profits.
Non-profits.
Walker Report.
The Walker Report?
Yes, it's on the UN. UN is a non-profit organization. But you're talking about more private sector, I guess. I don't remember anything at the moment. But there are non-profit, the effects, I think I read recently somewhere, I didn't see the study yet, but the effect of fraud on non-profits. It's not something that they measure it, but they describe it. Yes, sir.
Just wondering, what was the biggest case you've been involved in?
Me? A lot. Is it financial importance or political? I investigated my Director General. So, one of the UN Director Generals, there was a information by US, and then I didn't tell the guy, I investigated him.
What was the outcome?
He was bribing to get a vote to be re-elected, and he told his close aides, he was Japanese, sorry about if there is one, that's just to express what has happened. You want me to commit harakiri, he said. So that was, the case was proven, and he's gone. He resigned, actually. And there were more riskier ones, if you want to know, but I think we have to have a session when we go out. Are you going to take me to my hotel? Yes. I don't know why I think...
If you've seen any worldwide initiative to prevent identity theft, you know, Frank Abagnale was in town a month ago, and he wasn't a big fan of Facebook. He says it's incredibly easy to get social security numbers, mother's maiden name. It's off the charts right now. If there's going to be any sort of other identification method or ways to prevent fraud, because it's out of control.
The bad news is that we are easing the fraud. In fact, the Pricewaterhouse study that will come next week puts the cybercrime as first threat this year. So this is one of the headings. There are two sections. First section is cybercrime, and then more and more people are scaring from that. And there is no regulation yet around. So that we are all vulnerable, including myself when I was in, where was I, Senegal? And the last day I wanted to pay my hotel bill to go to the airport. They said, your card is not valid. Well, I said, how come? Last night I paid the director, just to reciprocate his initial invitation to me, and it passed. No, sir. Then they called in. They said that $14,000 purchase of, what is this, luggage, famous luggage that you should know. Louis Vuitton, yes. $14,000 was purchased in Spain. Of course, director had to pay my hotel bill. I reimbursed. I didn't make up this story for him to pay, but it took 2 months to discover what happened. At the end, they didn't understand how. My card was maybe stored in one of the travel agents, I don't know, somewhere. They have found that, they hacked it, and then 14,000 was paid by the insurance company, of course, in America, someone. So we are all vulnerable, especially, it says in this report, another thing that Wi-Fi's, you know, just, or Wi-Fi's, whatever you say, depending on your little peepees, are broadcasts, like your television, so that anyone can catch anything. So easy. At the airport, you would like to pay your last bill. Watch out. Watch out. Don't pay at the airports. Reminds you that the others are equally vulnerable, but you have more confidence in your office because there is a security system. Maybe. Maybe. And this is more likely not to be intercepted. Maybe. Then one day I have seen on my Hotmail account that why you are for, you know, this Hotmail makes a yellow you know, just a ribbon like, I don't know, something yellowish. It says, why you are forwarding, would you like to continue to forward? I said, well, I don't remember that. I found out that a Chinese guy wants to take all my copies of my mail. And thank God I was not using for the invoices that account. So immediately I cut them down. Then I change all the passwords. Think to change the passwords very often. That helps. If it is hacked or anything after a long time, then they may not go in, even they want to. But when it is hacked, if they get your numbers to use somewhere else, that's a problem. Now, let me tell you for 1 second that for this hacking business, I think I should ask commission for that to him. I had a guy, Russian, in Webster classes in Geneva, and then one day, director calls me. He says, are you going to pass by? I said, yeah, you are giving me a new course. I said, thank you, I'm coming. Have your coffee ready. No, it's not for that. I think police is after you. I said, police is after me. Why is that? You remember the name that there's a Russian student? Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he just hacked a couple accounts, and then the police got him, and then they asked him the question, what the hell you're doing in Switzerland? Yeah, I'm a student. Where? Webster University. What are you doing? Economics, accounting, or all that? What kind of courses you're taking? He says, accounting, finance, introduction to fraud. Examination, and the guy doesn't see examination part. Introduction to fraud, wow, bring him down. So I sent the syllabus, anyway, they stopped. Then that was 2-3 years ago. Then I received an invitation to my email, because I give my email in class, you know, in case that they have questions. So you are cordially invited to, what is this? I called him and I said, what is this? This is my profession, sir. What is this? Hacking. What kind of hacking? Ethical hacking. What the hell is this ethical hacking? Ethical hacking is that he comes to your company, he enters in your systems, he shows that he does so. Moral of the story that you should know what you're doing. He's been caught by the police for hacking. Now he made himself ethical hacking company. So that he enters in your account and he shows that I have entered using this. And then the IT people are listening to that and he gets his money down. So he doesn't have to hack anymore. So bear in mind that there is such a profession. Don't go to see him, otherwise I have to ask commission. That's for sure. These hackers, ethical hackers, are very interesting guys. Have you seen the James Bond? One of them, the guy is working, I don't remember, you know, under pressure he tries to remember what is the code to stop the, you know, the bombs to go to enemy and all that. They told me in WHO days, they told me that there will be a hacker, ethical hacker. I said, okay, let's go and see. Accounting manager, very proud. says, yeah, let's see this guy. And the guy came with 2 bodyguards, you know, big guns. And then he's short, a Japanese face. He just sat there. Give me a computer. Here's a laptop, sir. What's your name? And then chief account says, that's it, Rene. And I said, what would you like to know? And he says, payslip. That's the most sacred thing. We never give in. Never we tell everyone, even you don't know next guy how much he's getting. It is very competitive information in UN because everyone has got some privileges. So, yes, 3 minutes later, you have a printer here, by the way. The guy says, this is the printer. Is this yours, Mr. Rooney? It's red shred. And we paid the guy $3,000 for 1 hour. And he just got, you know, and then the 2 guards. So know that there is such a profession, and these guys are very expensive, huh? $3,000, 1 hour, okay, gross, maybe it's more than that. He's coming in and all that, the taxi and blah, blah, and the guards. I don't know about that, but $3,000, I saw the payment. So you don't want to be ethical hacker? It doesn't take too much. No, but the guy tells you that everything is available. It's a matter of giving some time to work on it, you know. That's so easy. Right. Yes. No.
I've got one more question. Yeah.
One more question. After this or with that?
After
The
this.
most unusual way you've ever heard of fraud being detected?
Unusual way or usual way?
No, the most unusual way.
Most unusual way, always I would say tip. Tip is the most unusual way. When you receive a tip, think about it first. What about the sexes of the guy who's bringing the tip and the other? Is it male, female, female, male? Is there any relationship? But tips are the best way also, you know, because you cannot fraud on your own. You cannot sit down one day and with coffee, I'm going to fraud it. No, you can't do that. Any fraud, even through the machines, through the computers and everything, and the more complex the computers are, more easier to fraud, because this complexity allows a lot of entries. That is very much true. So simple things are more reliable in that sense. So that even through the computers, another person will know about you, knowingly or unknowingly. Someone has to sign, someone has to fill in, someone has to approve somewhere. So you cannot fraud on your own. Thus, we say that fraud is known other than fraudster, known, conscientious or not, because sometimes the director signs, I didn't look at it, right? But he knows in that sense. That is why we are promoting just to get as early as possible through the tips. It is the most unusual because the people are not coming forward to give you the tip without any reason. Then if you are able to cultivate an accountability ethic environment, you may. Otherwise, all tips are coming with a reason. Either they are divorcing, denouncing the husband, you know, because I'm not going to get any more his money, so just I'm not going to let him enjoy with others. That's come. Or competition, or any other reason that is coming. Very little comes because I love my company. Even if they say,
That'd be unusual.
that'll be unusual. So, suspicion.
A token of appreciation from the Walker School, I'd like
Oh my
to give you
God.
this.
Oh my
Coming here
God.
to St. Louis.
This is an official bribe, you know?
I shouldn't make it so public either. should I?
I had a boss. I had a big director, and I wanted to offer him coffee. And he said, you are trying to bribe me? I tell you something, man. My price is higher than that. So I take your coffee.
That's what I was wondering. Anyway,
You know the Abraham Lincoln, that one day a lady came in, got the appointment and entered in, and then the guards are waiting outside, and suddenly after a few minutes, the door opens, just like, he's angry, President. And then she goes, thank you, President, and goes. And of course, they cannot ask the question. But 2-3 days later, they say, President, what was wrong? And this is written. He says, everyone has a price. He says that. And the worst thing that during the discussion, she was approaching to my price. That's why I kicked her out. It's true.
you don't want to be tempted. Again, thank you, Hal, for coming here.
Thank you.